Today, he's joining us right here on North Dakota Today to talk about his career and what's next. Good morning.
Hi, Wayne. How are you?
You nervous being on television?
I am very nervous.
A little bit of first-time jitters here.
Especially in the AM. Yeah. I'm not usually. I usually can't talk well at this time of the day.
You didn't know there was a 9:14 on the other end of the day, right?
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about your average day. We're going off script already. What did you'd get home, 11 o'clock?
About 11, yeah, a little before most nights, but yeah.
Most people don't get home from work at 5 and then go right to bed, so I'm guessing you didn't go right to bed either.
The older that I have gotten, the earlier that I've been able to go home and go to sleep. But I don't really sleep much longer whatever time I go to bed, so that's just kind of the way it is. But yeah, there was this was a long time ago. I was still in Sioux Falls, and my mom couldn't understand why I stayed up so late at night, and then slept so long in the morning. And I'm like, no, Mom, I go to bed earlier than you do, and get up earlier than she's. You know what? So I literally took the clock off the kitchen wall and said, "You live like this. Noon is here for you.
Yeah.
My noon is over here."
Exactly right.
And then she finally started to get it a little bit.
Well, as you know, Lene, my wife, works basically the same hours I do, and people are always asking, how do you guys get up at 1 in the morning or whatever time you get up? I said, because our whole day is shifted. It's bedtime at 6, we get up at whatever time we get up. So it's just a matter of how you structure your day. All right,
when Amber was working, I will say, though, that made it a little bit easier. She, after a while, took some jobs where she was working the same idiotic hours as well, and then your life balances a little bit more. So I get what you're talking about.
Yeah, one extreme or the other, depending on where you work in either television or radio. Okay, we're going to get to the radio part of this, but I want to start with, it was in 1987, I believe, that I left KSFY as a weekend sports guy. And
there was a guy.
Yeah, there was a guy named Lee Timmerman that walked in the door and was hired to replace me.
Exactly.
Talk about, you interned in Sioux Falls and then you were hired there, and that's how you got your start in sports television.
Well, yes, because Brian Bierke, if you remember Brian,
he was my news director.
Yeah, and he was the assignment editor when I was an intern.
Okay.
Our news director, you were moving on, and Jim. Jim was he took over for Jim.
Yep.
I got good stories about Jim too. But anyway, I think our paths are similar. I started in radio. My first full-time job out of college was in radio. Loved radio. Didn't really have an intention to work in television. But Brian called me, "Hey, we have an opening. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, how many people get to work at home?
Right.
Because I grew up right outside of Sioux Falls. And I went, and I took a pay cut to do it too, actually. Yeah. And I went, all right, I'll try this. And so that was in 1987.
Okay, I want to go back to your radio days. You were in New Ulm, Minnesota, correct?
Correct, yep.
Now, one of the things that you've talked about that was really, really cool is you would go to Twins games and you ended up sitting in the press box with Herb Carneal in the radio group.
I have no idea why, but, and I didn't really see him do it with other, I'm going to call myself a kid, just like we all were when we were 20-something. But he took a liking to me. And when I was there, which I went often because I love the Twins, so we have that in common.
Yep.
When he saw me there, he would always say, "Come on up," because you remember the old Metrodome. They had the regular press box, and then the booths, the radio booths, and the TV booths were up top. So he'd come up top, he'd sit down, and I would, like Joe Angel at the time, would be off to the left, and they had the ticker. Before the internet, people, there was a world before that gave updates of all the baseball games and the scores and whatever, and Herb sat to the right. And so I'd sit there in the middle and ticker and go, here's the update from the Oakland game, or, here's, and I would do that for 3 or 4 innings or whatever, and then depending if the game was good, because I worked early mornings back then in radio, and I'd head back to New Ulm, and every once in a while, you'd hear on the radio, Herb would be like, "Oh, yeah, great to see, new young broadcaster Lee Timmerman from our affiliate station in New Ulm stopped up," and and so
that had to just make your heart skip as you drive
it was.
down the
But
road.
then the ripple effect of that is because, again, no cell phones, no texting. The following weekend, you'd get phone calls from people back home. "Hey, I heard you were at the Twins game," and it's just so Herb was awesome in that regard.
And driving around the field raking hay or doing whatever we did growing up on the farm, listening to Herb Carneal do Twins ball game, milking cows, to have him mention your name would have been pretty cool. LT, we need to take